thumbnail, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on like with the YouTube thing. Yeah, okay.
YouTube is sometimes just weird.
YouTube is weird. Reddit is weird. Patreon is weird. Yeah, but we are live right now, and it's Red Smoke episode 13. If everything goes well. Yeah, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody who's listening. And yeah, we're not going to do like a whole intro now, or like explain anything. We could just continue what we started last week. Last week was like basically we didn't plan this to do like a 2-part series, but it was like just too much. And I was again a bit like going on Wikipedia and like looking at those characters from Game of Thrones. Like so many characters, it's just like no way you can cover everything in 2 hours. Yeah. Alex, when we think about like last week, is there anything? This sounds so much like a question someone would ask me, some teacher would ask me in school. But what did you like remember from last week? Like what did we learn last week?
I forgot my homework. Sorry.
I always hated it, man. Teachers asking this pretentious question, but yeah. Was there anything like where you say, "Oh, okay, didn't thought about that"?
I definitely wanted to focus a bit more on Tywin today.
Mm-hmm. Alex, you kind of cut out there.
Sorry?
Oh yeah. Now you're back. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If this happens again, I might need to close the stream in the background.
All right.
Oh yeah. Fine.
Okay. You can also if you have the stream in the background, you can put it like on 240. So the quality is very. I do the same over here. So, yeah.
Perfect. Got it. All right.
Excellent.
Yeah, technical issues, a classic.
That's one. That's the best way to start the stream, man.
Absolutely. Otherwise, it would be like too perfect, and we don't like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was thinking about it a little bit because we are obviously going to talk about Tywin, and the question is a little bit why we are going to talk about Tywin, because obviously the title of this whole thing is like ranking the Game of Thrones characters, and I actually have this graphic online which I'm going to put up later, but the question to me is something I need to discuss with you beforehand is how would you like, because again this comes across a little bit like we are some nerdy guys, and it's like, oh, this is like the best character, he's like the most intelligent, or he's like the strongest and stuff. So the question is a little bit for me, how do you rank characters, and I was a little bit like okay, can I rank them by intelligence or by strength or something like that. I think if I would like rank the characters on my own, I would go a little bit like character wise, and I would be like, okay, who has like the best character arc, who's like the best frame and all that. But the thing is, look, we are on the Red Smoke podcast here, right? And so, yeah, and I've been thinking, okay, what is this Red Smoke thing all about? It's obviously like, I'd say a little bit like teaching man how to like live life like with joy and pleasure, and keep the masculine frame and all that. But the thing is, you don't need the Red Smoke podcast to tell you that you shouldn't live like Joffrey. See a little bit of the problem there.
That's debatable, isn't it? No, I'm kidding. Right.
It's a bit difficult to like just how would you rank the characters, because I don't know why, but I think for some reason Tywin is like our favorite of the two, from the two of us. Like I would say for me personally, along with Olenna Tyrell, and the question is why is that? What makes, obviously it's going to be a subjective list we're going to do at the end, so there's no way we can like objectively prove this is the best way to rank those characters, but why would you say Tywin is the best? Why don't you say like this is the way it should be?
Personally, I would rank the characters from Game of Thrones in a way that how they operate life the best, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Which means, for example, they understand how the world truly looks like. They're not blinded by like ideologies, if there's even such a thing in Game of Thrones. Or, for example, their bloomy worldview, which isn't actually true at all. And they know how to play the game, which is because it's a Game of Thrones, right? And this is what I would do personally, because I think this is not only very important in Game of Thrones, obviously, and to anyone who has watched the whole show knows that the people, not just the men, but the people with their bloomy worldview and everything is good, that they didn't come very far. And the guys who actually understood how it works, they did quite well. So I think this is kind of a good way to rank them, in my opinion.
It makes pretty much sense, yeah. Because I was thinking look, I cannot start off with Red Smoke is not okay. Behave like Tywin. That's a little bit too easy. So I get what you say. It's a little bit more complex than that. I would say Red Smoke is more like this. What this whole channel is all about. It's more like steal some stuff from him, steal some traits from him, steal some, or even like straight up quotes from him. Red Smoke is a little bit like what are characters from TV or movies we can steal the most from. Would you say the same?
Yes, absolutely. This is also something I think people usually get quite wrong about Red Smoke. It's not like we are completely like hating on the Red Pill or something like that, because we always keep saying that things that are mentioned in the Red Pill, manosphere, whatever you want to call it these days, that like the baseline is correct and the Red Pill is necessary and all of this, but at some point you have to rediscover the pleasure in all of this again, so you actually live a joyful life as a man, right? So this is what makes it quite difficult, because it's very nuanced, obviously, but life is nuanced, right? It's not black and white. It's not just A and B. There are nuances to everything and individuals and all of that. So yeah, I think we need to put on a more nuanced lens on this whole thing when it comes to our precious Red Smoke podcast.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I want to be like this, just be intelligent like Tyrion. Yes. So I keep remember there's this one thumbnail somewhere on YouTube. I remember this is like an actual piece of advice. I'm like, how? It's like, what if I'm not intelligent? That sounds a little bit.
Be tall.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
and I was thinking a little bit about the word frame, and I would say this even has to do a little bit with like character description. Something we talked about with Rich last week when he came online on the show. Like from a character writing standpoint, it's very interesting how many or how less of those actually keep their frame throughout the whole show. Of course, thinking about Tywin again, but then I'm thinking about characters who like completely broke their frame towards the end, especially around season 8. And yeah, I would say it's like I don't even know where to start, right?
Yeah, I guess season 8 is a bit special in this regard, because pretty much all characters broke their frame, I think, for many reasons. But anyway, there's also something I wanted to add to this.
Sure.
It's actually the concept of frame, right? Is talked about like a lot, and people also confuse this a lot. And I think Tyrion is actually a great example. We talked about him a lot in the last podcast. I'm not going to talk about him too much, but because he had such a great development in his character as well, and at some point even was like completely purposeless, just drinking, doing nothing. And you could think that he broke frame at that point, but I don't think he did. He really just was looking for something in his life, like a purpose that moves him forward, because he didn't have this before. This doesn't mean though that he lost his frame in any regard. He was still Tyrion, right, and was still operating from his point of view on the world and himself, right? So this, again, we come back to the nuance here. It's not like this guy has a strong frame and this guy hasn't, because he did A and B. It's always the whole person, and how I think the frame is pretty much explained if you look at how a person sees the world, and if this worldview is ever like completely shattered or not. And I think if it isn't, and he has this like view on the world, and this is where he lives in his own reality. This, I think, describes the frame pretty well in most cases. But obviously, again, it's not so easy to describe.
The more we talk about it, I think it's pretty easy when it comes to one character, or if we compare like two characters with each other, because there's like we keep talking about Tywin, and we're gonna get a little bit more into detail. There's of course the character, because I was doubting if he is like this top tier level, and he's not, I would say. Of course, I'm talking about Stannis.
Yes.
And Stannis is like this guy who got everything right except one thing. You know, he had like this. He had like this. You could say religion was like his weakness in some way.
Yes.
So I think that's a little bit what you described with this whole twisted reality stuff, because he actually got everything right, but he was like, kind of like a slave to my faith, if you will.
Yes, absolutely. I think he also, he fell for that, because in the beginning, I think he didn't believe in this kind of God, at least not that heavily or deeply. I don't know.
Yeah.
And at some point, he decided to join this sort of religion.
Yeah.
Mostly driven by that woman. I forgot her name.
Yeah, Melisandre is it?
Yes, exactly. And this completely like ruined his whole journey, his whole purpose, pretty much all his frame, everything. And again, this is not to shit on religion or something like that. It just means that if you have your whole belief system completely like shattered and redesigned by anything someone else put on you, which is what a religion is, right? Especially in this regard. And now everything you do just doesn't make sense anymore to your past self, then this is quite questionable in regards to your frame, I think. And especially in his case, it had some detrimental effects.
It did. Yeah, I think we are way beyond the spoiler alert thing, so there's like no chance for anybody who's like, okay, don't even try to come for us. But I keep thinking about those characters we talked about last week. Like, for example, Oberyn Tyrell, who is someone I would definitely consider like top tier level of frame and everything. We just saw he knew exactly how the world works and all that. Even though he had like a little weakness there, but yeah. So the way we're gonna start this whole thing, and then we're gonna of course talk about. The thing is, we cannot talk about anyone. I hope you have the stream open.
I do.
All right. So how does
it has a slight delay, but I think
it's like 10 seconds or something.
Yeah, something like that.
So you should see it in like 3, 2, 1, if everything goes right. If not, then yeah.
Yes.
You should see a little graph with. I already did like one character in F tier. I hope you're okay with the decision there. And, it's so nice. There's this website. It's called tiermaker.com, because I was, Sure.
Just a quick info, because I know that I don't know how many people listen to our podcast outside of YouTube, and they might not see that.
Yeah.
So we gotta talk about it a little bit. Yeah, on the F tier, like the worst tier, there is Ed Sheeran, obviously. I mean, there's really no other way, no other place to put him. Pretty easily the worst character in the whole of Game of Thrones.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would just want to add that. You can proceed.
Yeah, for everybody who's listening, be it on YouTube or on any other audio-only platform, there's this website and you can check it out for yourself. It's called tiermaker.com, because I was, few minutes ago, we were just talking about this thing, like how do we even rank characters? And I gotta admit, I was like on Google, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna Google now how to rank characters, and that was the first website that came on. It's just like a tiermaker.com. I was like, okay, we can actually do a nice little list there. I wasn't getting any answer to my actual question, how to actually rank characters, but I got a nice little graphic here. So yeah, thanks internet. I always got the answers I don't need. But yeah, that's where I would start a little bit, and Yeah, I would say we go with the so. See, the thing is, if I would like, okay, let's start from beginning. There's, for example, the character of Joffrey in this list, you know,
Yes.
and if we would like judge him by our standards, which would be okay, he knows how reality works, he holds his frame, and he has some qualities that we can, copy. It'd be like Ed Sheeran tier level, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't know of any trait or like behavior, attitude, whatever you want to call it, he has that is worth copying.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
mimicking, whatever you want to call it. I don't see any way in which Joffrey is a role model.
That's a little bit the thing, because when we were just talking about the character of Joffrey Baratheon, I'll be like, this is top tier level, extremely well written and all that, because I really like his character. It's like good written character, and I'll be really interested to see characters like him or Tywin in the later seasons where everything went down. I was thinking, like, what would Tywin say to all this crap that happened in episode and season 8? It's like, he's like this father who'd be like so mad at all those characters. Like what did you become, guys?
Yeah, I think he would ground all of them.
Yeah, that's a bit
For months.
I really have the feeling that like the best characters already died before, and I'm a little bit glad about that. So yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Weirdly, yes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put like yeah. Is there like anything mentionable about like Joffrey? Anything we can say? Okay, this is like this is like something we can take for our own life, or is he like completely at Sheeran level?
Yeah, I'm thinking right now. But yeah. No, even his like confidence. I was thinking about that because
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
pretty much and you could call it unshaken by anything. But I think it's not true because his confidence isn't built upon what he did. It's just given to him by being born a king, pretty much. So it's faked and wrong, and yeah, it doesn't really help
Yeah.
him because, as we said last time, that he had to call himself a king,
Yeah.
and he doesn't really feel like it. He has to remind himself of it all the time, and so I think it's not even that helps him in this
Yeah.
case.
So Joffrey is gonna join the Ed Sheeran ranks. keep thinking about this stupid scene, and I think it was season 7 where Ed Sheeran is like sitting at this fucking campfire and he's like singing this fucking song, and I think Arya is joining them. Those were like he was clothed as a Lannister soldier. I mean,
Yeah, I
obviously,
think so, yeah.
I think he's you could actually see it on a picture there, and I still remember like Arya even saying, "Oh, that's a pretty song. I never heard it before." It's like, yeah, come on. I was like, I was hoping for the soldier to say, "Oh yeah, it's the new album," you know.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah, I
my
mean,
God.
if you go that way and pull us out of the immersion, out of the Westeros Game of Thrones thingy, then go full circle and go even deeper. into the
God,
shit.
what a unnecessary addition. But yeah, anyways, I would say, yeah. No, there's like nothing you should like copy from Ed Sheeran. Even though I'd say he stayed in frame. He actually stayed so much in frame that he like played himself on the show.
That's true. He actually had a stronger frame than the whole Game of Thrones series.
That's why we don't call him by his character, because I don't know his name in the show. We call him Ed Sheeran, yeah, because he is Ed Sheeran in the show, yeah.
Yes, exactly. I don't even think he yeah, he does have a name, but I don't know what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say from the list, there's like there are like so many characters. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit for everybody who's listening. I hope this doesn't fuck up. There's so many characters on the Game of Thrones. Alex, you're gonna see it like in 10 seconds. Like there's like no way we can cover them all up. I kind of like sorted them to the most interesting ones, if you will. I kind of like pre-sorted them.
Oh damn!
I really hope there's a. So, like I said, everybody who's listening on audio only, there's this website called tiermaker.com, and you can, there's someone who already who already pre-made this whole Game of Thrones characters list where you can rank them, and we're gonna rank them in Red Smoke style today. And I don't know how many there are, like probably over 100, 150 characters there on this list. What's
I
really
didn't know there are that many characters. I didn't know, and seeing this list is kind of crazy actually. You remember a few faces, but not all of them.
That's the thing. I remember so many of them.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I'm like, oh yeah, of course I know this, and this is such a they did something right there in this show, because you know so many shows like for example Breaking Bad, they have like 10 protagonists throughout the whole series, like 10 people they focus on, and Game of Thrones has like I don't know 1,000% more than Breaking Bad. It's crazy. It's just crazy how many characters there are, how they manage to, of course, just until a certain time to cover them all up. It's actually it's actually interesting because we had like 7-8 subplots at once, and they balanced it pretty good. And in season 7 and 8, where it should all conclude, that's where they fucked up.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah, I was gonna say it's also interesting that having so many characters, they still made like most of them, not all of them, most of them interesting and have their own sort of character and behavior and all of that.
Yeah.
They still manage that somehow. I mean, I guess it's due to the books, obviously, but even that for Martin there is quite an accomplishment.
Absolutely. I keep thinking about, because obviously this is like one of the most tragic character arcs, most ruined character arcs, if you will. We talked about him last week. It's Jaime Lannister, and and the question is, how are you gonna rank the characters? Like do we stop at season 6, because that's for me where the show had like a last good moment, where this whole explosion was at the end. And there's like someone on YouTube who said this explosion was so intense it blew all the good ideas the writers had left.
Well said. Yeah.
It kind of makes sense. So the question is a bit: do we see the characters as a whole or not? Because I would say to a up until season 7, Jaime actually did like a full circle. He went from an absolute asshole to I'm gonna fight for mankind now. But then he gets ruined in the last 3 episodes, you know. So that's a little bit the question. How I ranked him, you know.
Good. I was gonna say for a second, let's take the whole full thing in with virtually every season, but that's gonna really change a lot of characters and the outcomes on the list.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's a bit the question. Can you still see him as someone else? Can you still see him without the outcome of season 8? That's difficult, isn't it?
I think. Yeah, well, let's do it that way. Let's just stop at the end of season 6. I think that makes it easy.
All right, let's keep because I would still like, and I think you would agree with me. You would still like recommend the series. You know. I was like, it would be hard to like recommend it to someone who never saw it, and it's like, but do me a favor, just stop at like mid season 7 or somewhere. Just don't continue. And everyone would be like, "Are you crazy?" Of course, I'm gonna like continue the series. So,
I would actually still recommend watching the whole show, just so you can realize and see what can be done to a very good character.
Absolutely.
Just so you know, pretty much.
So yeah, I would say like from when you talk, for example, about Jaime, because we talked about him in last week, and it's a really, really great discussion. I think that's where Rich also came from. We talked about surpassing emasculation and all that, and it was also like a missed opportunity. So when we have like this tier list here, and I would say if in my heart and in my wish, the way I wanted Jaime's character to conclude was like, okay, from the first episode, like Kingslayer, and he pushed Bran out of the balcony and all that, like a complete asshole, was just like screwing up with his sister, to a man who went through such an interesting character development there. What would you like rank him when it comes from S plus to Ed Sheeran level?
What is S plus, by the way?
S
Like
plus,
super?
S plus. I would say it's like a Tywin tier. So we have like on the one hand, I'm gonna put Tywin on the top of there already, because there's like no chance I'm gonna put him anywhere else, and we're gonna explain later. But you have the chance. So S plus is Tywin and F is Ed Sheeran.
That's great.
This is like So I'm actually gonna have to update the thumbnail. So we have like Ed Sheeran on the left, Tywin on the right. It's like, which man do you want to be?
Very much so.
Oh man.
Yeah, well,
what would you like rank with Jamie?
I actually would rank him quite high, to be honest.
I'm saying somewhere between S and A, I would say.
Yeah, somewhere there. Because, yeah, he, as you mentioned, has a great character development, but he's not like consumed by it. And again, if we stop at end of season 6, obviously, and so he truly worked through his like emotions and his issues there, and came out a better man at the end. And yeah, this is what I really enjoyed, because many times I said, man needs the hero journey, right? And he needs to overcome his own demons.
Yeah.
Or as Anthony Robbins says, when the boy is healed, the man appears, right?
Yeah.
And Jaime pretty much has this healing of the boy, because in the beginning he's like very infantile, right? Like screwing his sister and throwing kids out of balconies, pretty much living without thinking about consequences, which is very childish. And throughout the whole seasons, he develops this sort of adult growth. So yeah, he becomes a great man in the end, I think, actually.
Yeah, it's
S or A.
Yeah, I don't know, because I would like it becomes easier the more characters we rank. But sure. I keep thinking about, because after Jaime we talked about Oberyn, and I would say Oberyn is not S plus. I would say Oberyn is S, but I would say Oberyn is above Jaime.
You're right.
Would you agree? I would probably put Jaime in A, because I keep thinking about, okay, he started off as like this asshole character. It's really it's so interesting, because like subjectively I hated him in the beginning. Obviously everyone did.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then you start to like grow like sympathy for him, and like this is actually gonna be like a hero type of character. He's trying to redeem himself. But I would say he never had like like there has to be like some kind of traits where I say, okay, he completely went full circle. And I just can't ignore episode season 8. It's so hard for me. It's like something would miss, you know. For me to be like to have him fully went this full circle, it would be something like, okay, he goes back to King's Landing and kills Cersei. That would be like redeeming his full character from screwing her out with his sister to, okay, I'm gonna end this, like metaphorically, and you know.
Yes, no, that would actually have been a great scene, I think, like from a cinematography standpoint, obviously. Everyone listening, I don't condone killing a sister, but because his sister pretty much represents his demons to some degree. He is fighting with himself and the people and the things that keep controlling him. So literally killing her, or the demons, whatever you want to call it there, would have been the last sort of thing his character needed. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, there's something missing about him. You know, he's like trying, but just like it's a little bit like okay, we're gonna try to give people like some practical advice for their own life, and Jaime was a little bit like, okay, I have problems, but I'm gonna try to solve other people's problems. You know.
Yes.
So
I
like,
was gonna say.
Yeah, instead of facing his own past, he's like, okay, I'm gonna fight for mankind. I'm gonna protect the honor of Brienne. They had this actually beautiful arc there, in season 4 or 3, I think. I don't know.
I don't know.
But it's something's missing for Jaime to be like top tier level, you know.
Yeah, you mentioned two great things actually here. Because first, I don't want to get too nerdy with this whole thing and think about practical advice for people listening, or the man listening. So yeah, in his case, the second thing you mentioned is definitely that he was too focused on fixing others before he had fixed himself.
Right.
Because
right.
I have seen this many times with the guys that work with me, and then with my older self as well.
Mm-hmm.
That I was pretty much setting myself on fire to keep others warm, right? And this is a problem in and of itself. But even when you then go out and try to conquer yourself, then still you need to fix yourself first before you can look after other people. And even people like Confucius in the past said similar things, because you need to overcome your own demons first. Then you can give from strength, right? Before you try to fix others. And Jaime definitely doesn't do that. So this is clearly missing in his character.
Yeah.
But still, he had one of the greatest, up until season 6, right? He had one of the greatest character developments. So he definitely deserves a high spot.
Yeah, from a character writing standpoint, especially like those interactions he had with his father, with Tywin, or also with Tyrion in the first seasons. It's actually the same like Joffrey. Both of them are like great characters, but not everything they did was something you can like practically take for your own life. There,
Yeah, of course not. I mean, our listeners need to realize that we are ranking a fantasy series, right? And obviously we are looking for real life appliances there. But I mean, it's still what these characters did in many regards are not very good things, or even things you can even think about in real life. So it's just, as we said, the frame and understanding of the world and how to use their masculinity and their growth for pleasure and all of that.
Absolutely. So the question we still we keep trying to avoid there, let's just like get over it as if it's something that isn't fun. But of course the S+ level or the Tywin level, what would you say makes Tywin Lannister the man on the top there? Someone who was killed quite without honor.
Yes.
With time in the series, what makes him like the best character, you would say, or someone you can learn the most from, you can steal the most from?
Oh yes, absolutely. Well, there are many things. I think we should start with his understanding of people. Like he has a complete and thorough understanding of what people do, what they want, and how they operate, and he knows that before they even know it. This is the key thing, and this is what makes someone very powerful. Like if you know what someone else wants or needs, and you know it before they know it, that something's coming up, whatever it is, for example, in your life, then you have a very powerful tool at your hands. And Tywin did this throughout the whole show pretty much. He always knew what was going to happen. He was like, this is another part of his frame. He was never surprised by anything that happened. Like nothing could really surprise him. He just knew what was going on and how people would react. And now this is obviously for real life application here, not easy to learn. This is a skill you can learn, like how people operate. It's pretty much psychology, and you can read it up and study it. It's not easy and will take a while, but this is truly, psychology is one of the most powerful tools or traits you can develop, or understanding it rather, humans. Because everything you do, it's also in my business, right? Or in any business you really do, everything you do always has to deal with people. You always need to deal with other people. And if they want to buy from you, if you sell them services, or if you need to work together with them, there's always people, right? So you need to understand how other people operate.
Yeah.
And this is the key that Tywin definitely fully and completely understood. And especially in a world like Westeros, where everyone is focused on this very uncomfortable chair in King's Landing. It's pretty much power. Everyone's looking for power, and he understood how the power games work. And this is one of the many traits that made him so powerful, I think. What is your personal favorite trait of his?
I would actually say not even his whole psychology, but if you pay attention to his hair, his face, his tone of voice, his posture and all that, it makes him look like a true old wise lion, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can when it comes to like stealing traits, just look up clips of this character and like imitate his body language. This is it's already so intimidating the way he looks at people, the way he tilts his head down slightly, and all that. It's always something that he owns every scene he's in for a reason, and I'd say like body language as a whole is a great deal of that. Definitely.
Yes, great thing you mentioned this, because I actually watched a YouTube clip once. I don't know if we can plug that channel. I think so. Charisma on Command is the channel.
Yes.
And they did a body language, like clip on Tywin, and this was very great. Things you don't notice like consciously when you watch the show, but seeing it in this clip or then rewatching it, for example, like all the scenes with him, you just see how. I'm also surprised the showrunners took so much effort into making this properly.
Yeah.
That he has this body language, and he, as you said, always completely controls the room and where he is.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere he is, he's the center of attention, and everyone is like almost afraid of him, which is also because he obviously did things that made people afraid of him. But this is part of the power, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's also that he's just able to draw all the attention at all times, and everyone is completely focused on him, and this is part of his body language. He's almost if you talk to him, I guess you would be very intimidated pretty much by him, because you just know how powerful he is. This comes from that, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what's of course a little bit. It's like part of the magic of Charles Dance, the actor who plays Tywin. Of course, it's like I'd say it's talent to a certain degree, but yeah, if this was like the direction he was giving, props to the showrunners, definitely. So absolutely. It's just like he's just this ultimate patriarch in the series. He's this perfect example of I'd say masculinity. Yeah, Tywin's actions are like they're completely motivated by protecting his house, his family name, and for the generations to come. He's this insanely rich lord type of person, type of character, who does everything that comes to. He does everything to come to power and to stay in power. That's like his only motivation. And
patriarch is a great word you used there. He's pretty much like the Godfather, right? In the Godfather movie.
You could definitely say. Oh, don't even make us rank the characters in Godfather, man.
No. But I just think it's great comparison there, because
yes,
people will obviously say it because being the Lannisters and what they did, he is evil to some degree or bad. I don't know. And of course he is, but the reason he is because he is in charge of his family and his house and the name of it, and he's using all the tools he has and the tools the world offers to make it stay that way. And I personally think that any sort of man who runs a family or has a family, maybe even a business or like a family business, I don't know. Now I don't obviously tell you to start wars or something, but you definitely need to use all the tools you have, even if people don't like it, and especially if people from other families don't like it. These are not your issue. You need to take care of your own family, right? Yeah. This is what makes you a patriarch. Yeah. And Tywin completely understands it. This is also something that Ned Stark has done wrong many times, because he was always looking for other families and how to fix them, and neglecting his own family in the process. And this is what Tywin did completely right, that he focused solely on his house and how to stay in power and keep everyone alive. Yeah. As much as he could, obviously, because it's Westeros, right?
Obviously.
So, yeah, he's truly the true patriarch, and this is what I think is, in my opinion at least, what makes a real masculine man, especially when he ages and has his own family.
So you're mentioning Ned Stark briefly, and we talked about him the last week. Where would you like rank him if Tywin top tier level and then Jaime is like A level? Would you rank him like on Jaime's level, above him or below him, or what would be like your take?
Ned Stark is difficult in my opinion, because not only didn't we get like much to see of him, it's just one season, but also because generally he is a great man, you would say, and especially because he's powerful as well. But his virtues and his sort of blindness to doing the quote unquote right things is also his biggest weakness, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's kind of difficult.
It's hard because I keep thinking about the way we rank these characters. I would say Tywin level is someone who has like virtually no weakness at all, who does everything right. And I'd say if we put Oberyn on S,
you can actually put Oberyn there.
I'm gonna put him there right now. And and the thing is, the reason I put Oberyn below Tywin, and then maybe it makes sense then, is because Oberyn would probably be S+, but he has like this one little weakness that fucks him up, and that's, you know, when we had this great fight choreography scene with the mountain.
Yeah,
I would say I don't know if it's like his ego got in the way, or like it's always this premature celebration thing in in the movies. Every time someone like celebrates before he killed the other person, it was like the villain's trait, but in that case it was the hero who messed it up and gave the villain a little bit more time. It is hard for me. I would probably put Oberyn in S+, but yeah, it's like it's
I actually
difficult.
agree with S there.
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, his weakness is definitely that. It may just have been this one scene. I can't even remember another scene where he fucked up, because he didn't get that much screen time either.
Yeah.
But it's all we have from him, right? So we gotta work with that. And yes, because if you compare him with Tywin, for example, he never prematurely celebrates anything.
He's very stoic. He's very stoic,
Yes.
and Oberyn kind of like let his emotions like took over in this one moment, you know.
Yes, and this is also fine if you have already achieved things. Then you can potentially do that, right? But don't do it before you actually manage to achieve what you wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
And for Oberyn, this was a great thing he always wanted to achieve, like getting revenge on the Lannisters. And because of him being, prematurely so sure of himself there, he actually fucked it up in the end. So this is definitely a weakness, because it killed him, obviously. And this is sort of what puts him below that.
Yeah.
And because I think this is important, that whatever you do, don't celebrate early. Only when you're done, right? I mean, it's important. It might not be your life on the line, like in Oberyn's case, but get things done first, and then reward yourself after. It's important that you reward yourself and you can celebrate it. It's all good, and you should. But don't do it too soon. Otherwise, luck or bad luck or destiny or whatever might intervene, and then you're a fool because you celebrated without even achieving anything there.
Because I keep thinking about it. If it wasn't Oberyn who had the fight there, but for example, I don't know, Tywin. Of course, he is like too old to do it. But if it was, I don't think Tywin would like raise his hands like, "Hey, see what I'm doing here," or like clap for me and all that. Like Tywin is like he doesn't need to feed his ego in that way.
Yes.
You know, that's a little bit what makes him like a better character, and that's a little bit what makes Ned Stark even harder for me to rank now, because he's obviously not S+, but I don't know if he's like S or A, because, you know, he has this stoicism around him. We have this great scene in the first episode actually, where he's like, quote unquote, doing his duty, where he's like beheading this one guy. I don't remember why it was. Just like, it's like my duty. So he definitely knows how the world works. He just has this like one little weakness there, that he's like blinded by his virtues. He's not able to like swallow his pride, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna bend the knee and all that, which he eventually does. But a bit too late.
It's not just that. I think I agree totally with you there, but I think it's also, he sort of denies reality. virtually because he's been to wars with Robert, right? And he's seen all these things, so he knows how the world works, but he keeps denying it and thinking that his virtues will save him there. And obviously, I'm not saying you shouldn't have any virtues. That's all well and good. But, I mean, if your own life or life of your loved ones is at stake, then maybe it's not the right decision to stick to them that heavily. Especially if you know, I mean, he's a grown man, right? And he sees that Joffrey, a very spoiled brat, he knows him from very soon, right? From very, birth, almost. He knows that he's not a great king, and he knows very well that this guy will do crazy stuff, and he cannot really judge properly what he will do. And then he still keeps pretty much offending him in that regard. That, I think, is just stupid. And, so he is definitely blinded, even though he is sort of stoic as well with what he did in the beginning, and he has these virtues, which are great, and he does everything he needs to himself. But he has this big weakness of, denying reality, pretty much.
Kind of makes me want to put him in A, I gotta say. I would say...
I was thinking of A or B.
He, belongs definitely below Oberyn. Because the more we talk about him... when I keep thinking about Ned Stark, I would say he's a pretty intelligent character, to be honest. But the more we talk about him, it's like, okay, maybe he wasn't that intelligent, you know? So it's like, I would put him in the same tier as Jaime, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put him in A. Put Boromir in A. What would you say? Now it gets interesting. Actually, Robert Baratheon. We talked about him last week, and this is, what would you say? First impulse. Hard one there.
That's also a tough one, I'm currently thinking about what he did and how he did it. I actually think he's also quite high. I mean, he has another weakness like most of these guys had in Game of Thrones, which is the wine, right? And sort of forgetting about his duties, he rules like a king to some degree, like with delegating a lot of it, especially in the beginning where he is at Winterfell, I think.
Yeah.
And the scene with the shadow wolves or whatever they call it, I don't remember. He was really acting like we're decisive. He's giving orders and making sure everyone gets the same treatment pretty much. So I think this was quite great, but later, it goes down pretty heavily.
I kind of have the idea that, and this is something that makes sense to a degree, that he went to wars and he saw the brutality of the world, and at the end of his life, he's kind of trying to escape reality, with women and wine and all that. Which kind of, I'm not saying it ruins his character from a character writing standpoint, but it ruins his patriarch, masculinity, whatever you want to call it. Definitely. So it's, I think it's hard for us to judge because we haven't been to war our whole life. And maybe after 40, 50 years, and okay, maybe I want to have a little bit of joy. And how would you argue against that if we say, okay, we want to teach man, or we're going to talk about masculinity with pleasure here on Red Smoke? So how would you argue against that?
I actually think he was just too focused on himself, really. Because you just mentioned or used the word patriarch again, and I realized that while he was, at least in the beginning, a good king, he definitely wasn't a good patriarch because he didn't really care much about his family or his house. He was really just focused on his own things, and he heard, for example, he heard about Daenerys, right, the Targaryen, and his only thing suddenly was to get her killed, not really applying proper judgment of that. Just kill her and that's it. So I think he would have been much better if he still could have been to wars, right, even though it might have virtually get him killed pretty soon. But he was too focused on his own pleasure, definitely, from the beginning, I think. So this is definitely a weakness. Because, this is really what men do these days, right? When they constantly only indulge in easy pleasures, and don't really focus on building or even growing an empire or protecting the family, building a family, whatever it is. They just don't have proper great goals, and Robert definitely doesn't have it. Now you could say being king, especially in King's Landing, is already a great goal, and there's nothing higher. But I don't think so. He could still do more, but he just gave up on it. Maybe because he couldn't go to war anymore or something like that. But yeah, he sort of gave up too soon, I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely someone I would put in like in B or even C tier. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was thinking about C. Yeah, he's really,
because it's like it's
not.
Yeah, you go first.
Yes, I think there's not much you can really take from him, in my opinion. Because again, we're thinking about practical advice, right? So the only practical advice I could take from Robert is in the beginning of the season, or the show rather, when he is like being decisive and ruling and delegating. That's pretty much it. But other than that, it's difficult.
Yeah, it's it's something I would personally call the cardinal sin. If you know how reality works, but you kind of deny it, because obviously Robert knows how how everything works in his world, but he actively denies it, and he even says to Ned, "Well, you go rule my kingdom while I have fun and all that." So yeah, it's definitely.
This is another thing you just mentioned. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, no.
Great. Yeah, you mentioned this because a true king never can completely stop ruling his kingdom, right? Yeah. Because even if you delegate the power, at least to some degree, to Ned in this scene, even temporarily, it's still you who has all the responsibility. Yeah. Even if he does bad decisions, it's the same with your family at home, gentlemen. If you're listening, you are the patriarch, and even if you delegate something to your wife temporarily, whatever it is, if she fucks up, it's still your fault, and you need to accept this. This is your position, as they say. Heavy lies the crown, right? That means if you have to crown, you have to take the responsibility, and Robert definitely gives this up too soon, or even at all.
So kind of like avoiding responsibility and all that.
Yes.
I would put him in C tier. Would you agree?
Yes, he's
he's not that bad. It's like at Sheeran level, but definitely.
I actually like the profile picture with the wine in hand there.
That pretty much describes his whole character, doesn't it?
Yes.
I also like the picture of Tywin up there. It's a little bit what we talked about with the body language.
Exactly.
Like his posture. He fucking looks like a lion there, man. It's crazy.
Yes. You just don't want to fuck with him. That's really
definitely. I would say, I think we can get like two. Do we have in English the same word play with those two flies with like one? I forget it. Whatever. It's like this German word play. You know it, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I was thinking about the English term. Isn't it two birds with one stone?
I think it is.
Right, yeah.
Because when it comes to bad kings, the question is just, is he with him or is he above him? Maybe in B tier. Of course, I'm talking about Stannis again. Stannis is also a king who starts off strong. A very similar character arc as Robert Baratheon, actually. Starts off as a very, very strong character, but in the end he kind of fucks it up because he has like this huge weakness, doesn't he?
Yes, I would actually say he's similar to Robert, maybe above him.
Yeah, also put him B tier, actually,
Yeah, because he, in the beginning, is a very strong king as well, yes, as you said, but then he has a weakness, but it's a different weakness. It's being blinded by his faith that gets put into him, pretty much. And then completely neglecting responsibility for all of this, again, just blaming that sort of God.
Yeah.
And doing everything in disregard. But still, no matter in what kind of God you believe, you still have the responsibility for your actions, right? It's not like God was acting through you or some shit people tell themselves. No, it's still your responsibility. Everything you do, every action you do is yours. And Stannis definitely avoided this responsibility a lot.
I mean, I gotta say I'm pretty biased because Stannis always has been like one of my favorite characters in this whole show, like subjectively, of course. But still, I'll put him somewhere between Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything that makes him better than Robert Baratheon?
I think actually, especially in the beginning, he has a stronger sort of body language. I would say. I remember the first scenes of him. It was just another king you wouldn't fuck with, right?
Yeah.
And it's just portrayed by how he carries himself.
Yeah.
And it's actually also, again, a great profile picture they chose there, where he just, I don't know at what point this was, or what this is taken from, but the way he looks into the camera there is very
intimidating.
Very intimidating and powerful. Yeah, I like that.
I would say it's B tier, somewhere between Ned Stark and Robert Baratheon when it comes to kings. Yeah, that's a put him B. Yeah. Okay. Next up, I think from all the characters, which someone I think my first thought would be, okay, this is at Sheeran level, but it actually isn't. When it comes to Ramsey Bolton, it's the sixth one from the left on the first line.
Yes.
He's an interesting character. Again, from a character writing standpoint, absolutely top tier level. That was like one of the last true good characters on the show before he got unfortunately killed off. I would say, of course, we have this. I think he came on to the show as a substitute for Joffrey Baratheon. Like, okay, we need a new psychopath, some sort. Yes. But the thing is, he's a little bit more intelligent than Joffrey, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's a bit older. I don't think very much, at least not in the show. I don't know. Although, if I remember, I think in the books, they were all much younger. But I don't know. Anyway, Ramsey is definitely more intelligent because while he is truly an evil bastard, there's no other way to put that.
True.
He definitely knows, again, how the game works and especially how to manipulate people and get out of them what you want. The difference, again, here is, or not difference, but what makes him similar to Joffrey is that he just truly enjoys being evil and doing evil things to other people. He just virtually enjoys it. You can just tell. Also, great acting again.
Absolutely.
You can just tell he just likes torturing people.
Yeah, genuinely enjoys it in that moment. It's like getting off,
exactly. Almost getting off of it. It's a true pleasure for him. And this obviously is, not something to look up to.
Sure.
But, he's definitely more intelligent and he has a better understanding of the world. And I personally think that in true fashion of Westeros or Game of Thrones, he wouldn't have been killed like he did in the show.
Yeah, I'd love to see him a little bit longer. I mean, it was I felt satisfaction when he was the way he killed. It was good. Yeah, it was very conclusive, and like I said, season 6 is actually one of the strongest seasons there.
Yes.
But he played the game well. He knew which buttons to push when it comes to Jon Snow. Jon Snow is like an open book. You actually know what's the way he used his brother against him.
Yes, he knew exactly what the buttons he needed to push. Yeah, you said that quite well.
So
I think actually that that sort of his death, was very satisfying to watch. Obviously, with all the things he did. But I also think it was a little bit of fan service there, obviously, because people just wanted to see him dead.
Yeah, it's like okay, this character has no way he can survive, but otherwise it's just like Game of Thrones where you kill off the main character in season 1. So everything is possible. So my first impulse would be, okay, this is D level at max, but actually because you're talking about psychopathy and all that in your own courses, is there anything practical someone can take? So really stoically saying from his traits. Of course, we do not advocate this kind of behavior, but this is, after all, a little bit of a dark show we do here on Red Smoke. So is there anything you would say, okay, this is actually practical psychopathy you can steal?
Yes, I was going to say, he definitely has psychopathic traits which can be useful if you know how. I mean, what he does, which is the basic of any psychopath, is he doesn't care about boundaries other people put on him, right?
Yeah.
or even boundaries that are virtually given by society, pretty much.
Yeah.
And while Game of Thrones doesn't have many of those compared to like nowadays, obviously, like laws is here the other word. Breaching those is definitely a psychopathic trait and something you can take from him, yes. Now, obviously, again, we don't advocate to kill anyone, of course not, or even torturing them. But breaching boundaries can also just mean, how do I put this in his case? Because he just doesn't always care too much about what people think or how they feel. And while this may sound evil, it can actually be very helpful, even for the people. For example, if we come back to the patriarchy thing, sometimes you will have to make decisions which are not good for the people involved, they think. Which means, for example, you tell your daughter not to go out like a bitch, pretty much.
Yeah.
And dress like that. Now, obviously, she doesn't like that. And you will hurt her feelings. This is sort of a boundary you are breaching. You are hurting your own daughter's feelings, right? But this is for her own good. Or the same if she brings home a boyfriend or future potential husband who is a fucking idiot and doesn't achieve anything. Then your duty as a true patriarch would be to end this thing and get her a proper man, or wait until she brings a proper man. Now, obviously, you're breaching again a boundary, which is what Bolton does all the time in hurting people's feelings. But it is for the good of the person. They just don't know it. Now, obviously, Bolton doesn't do many things for the good of the people.
Yeah.
It's pretty much for his own pleasure. But the breaching of boundaries is a psychopathic trait. You can, to some degree, use yourself, but with all of these traits, it's always not easy to apply them properly.
Yeah, I would say, though, the way he sometimes uses people, it's like, okay, pay attention. You might learn something from him, but of course he's like also raping and stuff like that. So I think the question is a little bit C or D tier. What would you say?
I was actually thinking about C.
Yeah, because I would say he's too intelligent to put him in D, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so let's say let's put him in C there. Like, it would be fair. Welcome to the Robert Baratheon club there, actually.
Yes.
Now here comes the interesting one. What about Jon Snow? Because that's
good old Jon Snow.
Yeah, it's like because the way I like to see it, and we're going to talk about Robb Stark later as well. I always like to compare them to their father. And would you say like Jon Snow is a better Ned Stark, or is he worse? Because that would automatically also say that he's in a better tier, on a worse tier. And I would definitely say Jon Snow, not mentioning Season 8, of course, is definitely above the higher ranks there.
Yes, absolutely. Better than Ned. That's difficult as well. Again, personally, just being completely subjective here, I never liked him that much, to be honest. For me, he was a bit too much of the good guys again, who doesn't believe in how reality truly works. He does understand it later a little bit, especially after being in the Night Watch and seeing these things he sees.
Yep.
But again, he's trying too much to be the good guy. Towards the end, he understands a little bit better, obviously, and doing the right things. But in the beginning, I didn't like him very much. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, I kind of wish that, something that would like make him grow a little bit as a character would be if he would be the one who like actually kills Ramsey. Yeah. Because we have this great scene where we have this fantastic episode where we have this I think it's called Battle of the Bastards. Such a fitting fitting title there. And it would be so nice if he would be the one who actively kills him, because every time he killed someone, it's like in this honorable way. I would say the way he did, the way his father did it. It's like, okay, that's like his duty. He has to do it.
Yes.
But it was never really much like something that makes him grow as a character. It's just like, okay, I'm just gonna do my duty here in some way. It's hard because Jon Snow definitely starts to. I would say he builds his reputation, his character from a bastard to a literal like king, if you will. If it would be a good conclusion if he would like become the actual king. But up until season 6 and 7, pretty nice character transformation there. And the question is there something that we can practically take with us? Something that he does there?
I think to some degree he has a negative example you can use for your real life, and I think he's virtually afraid, especially in the beginning. I kind of don't remember how it is later, but he's virtually afraid to play dirty, even though it's sometimes necessary. And I don't know if he's afraid, or if he's just like, if his virtues are in his way, like with his father. But definitely, you see, some people just play dirty, and that means they are ahead of you if you don't. Now, it doesn't mean you always like cheat or something, but sometimes it is necessary, even if you are a good person, because life just is that way, right? Especially in a Game of Thrones setting. So I think what we can definitely take from him is that always being the good guy and always only doing the good things is definitely not very helpful if you want to achieve anything. Sometimes you have to do the dirty work. It's just what it is.
It's a little bit like, that's actually what, again, I'm not considering season 7 and 8 to it, but that's what actually makes Arya a better character than Jon, I would say. Because, you've seen your father's death. You see what this whole clinging onto your virtues leads to, And then we have like this great transformation, because Arya has been like actually one of my favorite characters, especially around like season 4, where she does a completely turnaround from this shy little girl to an actual assassin there, right? It's like crazy. Yes. It's such a great character development there. And she actually sees, like, no, guys, you've been playing nice for too long. This is like, for me, this is like a little bit the way it should be, But Jon is just like a substitute for Ned Stark. There's no, he doesn't really step out of the shadow of his father. I would definitely say he's not better or worse than Ned Stark. He is kind of like the same.
Yeah, I was going to say it's pretty much the same tier, because he does pretty much the same things, and pretty much also like acts the same way to some degree even. Yeah, I agree with that. And he's sort of, the Starks pretty much have this running through them. They are the good guys pretty much, right? Throughout the whole.
Yeah, as long as there are good guys in the series, I would say definitely the Starks.
Yeah, so I guess this is why many people liked them.
Yeah.
Personally, I didn't like them very much because of that. Not because I like bad people or something like that, because I just think that this always being good is just not very useful in the real world, because it just, because the world is dark sometimes, and I think you should be a good person, and I try to be a good person as much as possible, but sometimes when you see things like Jon or even Ned see, then you have to realize that people are weird sometimes, and they are sometimes very evil, and in most cases they only look after themselves. So you gotta be prepared, and the Starks really were prepared, really.
Definitely, I agree with that. The question that would lead right after that is, where would you put Robb Stark? I think that's a pretty fast one. Like, probably also as well as like, I'd say he's like worse than Ned and Jon.
I actually think he's way worse.
Yeah. Like,
I put him like way down, not like F or something, but maybe you can correct me there, but I don't really know of anything we can take from him as like a lesson.
Yeah, he's like a little bit he's like very dependent on his mother.
Yes.
On Catelyn Stark, who is a great character in this show, by the way, but he's a little bit overwhelmed, I would say, with the whole task of being the new patriarch of the Stark family now, and he isn't really he doesn't really know what he's doing there.
I also think he's just, he's trying to be the Ned Stark by fighting off bad people.
Yeah.
But he's also not living true to his own virtues by virtually ignoring the rules of the other houses by like marrying this girl or whatever the story was. I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he offended the guy at the Two Towers. What was his name? Yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
Walder Frey. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And which is pretty much what brings up the whole Red Wedding in the end, right?
Yeah.
And this is his own fault completely because he just ignored the rules which were set because of his dick, pretty much.
Yeah.
And for example, a Tywin character, Tywin Lannister, would have done this differently. He would still have gotten what he wanted, but he wouldn't have told anyone about it.
Yeah.
He would have just played the concealment game there, right? And would have just, brought another girl, which is apparently her wife then, or married even that girl, whatever Frey wanted, I forgot about it. But had whatever he wanted in the background because he didn't need to like put this out at front. And Robb definitely fucked that up completely. So because he was so focused on this girl.
Definitely. The question is he Ed Sheeran level?
No, I think he's D.
Okay, I would agree. It's not like that bad.
Yeah, he's not like a complete ass.
Yeah.
I mean, he has some good virtues and he does work towards them.
Yeah.
But still, he's just weak in my opinion.
Definitely. Yeah. So I'd say you get like a few bonus points for having virtues and all that, but pretty bland character, pretty forgettable also. So,
yeah, I gotta be honest. When you asked about him,
I
forgot about him being like the Lord of Winterfell. I forgot about that.
It's I think it's not a good thing if the first thing that comes to my mind is the way he's killed. You know, with the whole red. As you say, Robb Stark, I say Red Wedding. You know, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Yeah, that's the thing. And from all those Stark brothers, Bronn is definitely like F tier level. I don't know if we have to like talk about this because we talked about Tyrion in the last week. Pretty interesting where we're gonna rank him. But when it comes to Bronn, also someone who has, I would say, emasculated. You know, the same way that Tyrion is like he's like this because of his height. He's like a dwarf, and Jaime is losing his hand, and Bronn is losing his legs. You know, and apart from the whole supernatural three-eyed raven aspect, there's like actually nothing to his character. I don't know what kind of person this guy is.
He was boring as hell.
Yeah. It's like,
it was really just. Yeah. I didn't like the scenes with him at all. It was just
like
filler content.
Yeah, it's pretty hard for me to rank him because there's like actually nothing. It pretty much makes him F tier. Just don't know what to do.
Especially if we think about things again we can take from him as sort of a lesson. Yeah, that just didn't happen enough.
Not at all.
Or he didn't have enough like scenes where you could actually take something from.
Another great example where I think it's actually the only character where I would say had a good turnaround in season 8, and it was actually it's Theon Greyjoy. It's not Euron. It's Theon, the guy who got his dick cut off.
Oh yeah, this guy.
Yeah, it's actually the only character I'd say, okay, he got a nice little arc there, because I wouldn't say at all that he's a good character. He's always been like this weak ass a very negative picture of him when I think of him. But
yes,
he has this very nice redeeming thing there in season 8 episode 3 where he's like, okay, I'm gonna like protect Bronn for whatever reason. I don't know why. But it's like I'm gonna But it was kind of like a nice thing, you know, from this. It's actually like the only character who got his proper way out. Ironic, the only character who has like no dick.
Yeah, kind of weird. But definitely he was probably the only one who did something actually good.
Yeah.
In season 8, yeah.
I mean, what is there to say? We always say like, okay, what is a practical advice we can take from here? Is there like anything, or I don't know.
Don't have your dick cut off.
Yes, it's a tough one. There's not really much to say. I don't know. I kind of like skip him. I don't know what to say. Two very interesting characters. I would again, two birds with one stone. I hope we got the German the Germans got this whole thing here right. I would say is Littlefinger and Varys. Again,
Yes.
someone with no dick, but yeah. Littlefinger and Varys both are characters I would call in like one sentence, kind of like belong to each other. Both of them have like this. What's like your take when you think of them?
Yeah, we talked about this briefly before, right? But not very deep. But I definitely think they rank actually quite high again, because they definitely understand the game to a degree most actually don't in Game of Thrones. And while they also have their own issues, absolutely, but generally, I think they played it quite well. And they were sort of detached, at least in most cases. Littlefinger has some sort of issues later with his attachment.
Yes.
But generally both were pretty detached from other people throughout the whole thing. I mean, Littlefinger running this brothel, and Varys, just being this guy with the knowledge, pretty much about everyone. They were sort of above this whole thing, right? They were just looking at it from a bird's eye view and playing with it like a game.
Yeah, like I'll consider them like gray characters. Like it's like they have like this gray color. They do whatever is like is necessary to do in this moment, but they have like no virtues or anything. I would say maybe Varys, who might have this altruistic motives. He's like, okay, I actually want someone on the throne who is. I kind of don't buy it in the end. It just doesn't make sense to his character.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the end, this made no sense to me.
Because we have this in the first season where he's like talking to Ned Stark. And it's like, no, I'm not going to help you. It's like, I don't remember the dialogue exactly, but Varys
he was actually completely, like, not on any side, pretty much. And this is what made him so successful and kept him alive there, because he didn't take sides.
Yeah.
Although I personally think it's not always good to not take sides, but in his like profession, it was very helpful, because then he didn't get killed. He was just he was just bringing messages and knowledge. That's all he did. But in the end, then he pretty much suddenly changed completely and suddenly took a side out of nothing, I think. And this is again what killed him. Yeah. But but generally they both work from great characters. It's a great way to put it.
That's a bit the question again. If we can take something practically from it, it's actually a nice metaphor it had. Both of those characters, Littlefinger and Varys, kind of like they kept themselves alive for a long time. But I'm always like, okay, not choosing a side will keep you alive for a long time, but what is there in the end, actually? You know?
Yes.
That's a little bit like, because again, I'm biased, because I would say Littlefinger is actually my favorite character in this whole show. But, like, from practical advice, what good is there to be this good manipulator if you don't actually have a side? If you don't actually have picked a side before, you know?
This is why I added this footnote when I was just talking about that. Sometimes it's better to pick a side, and it would actually, personally, I think it's generally better to pick a side, even though it might obviously get you into trouble. And as I just mentioned, they were watching this whole thing from above and were virtually like Teflon, pretty much untouchable, and nothing stuck to them throughout the whole series. But this also meant they didn't have anything for them, right? Both of them didn't have any relationships to speak of. They had nobody. They had no family, no real. They couldn't become patriarchs. They had no house they belonged to, like nothing. While they were alive, sort of survived all the time. It wasn't really a life worth living, I would say, in my personal opinion. So, what you can take from them, though, is that even though it keeps you alive, to not be indulged with anyone, in any case, it's not really a life worth living, I think. You have a much more exciting life if you choose a side and fully stick with it, in my opinion. But that's very subjective.
Sure, I would totally agree with you, because that's actually something that I like about Arya's character and what makes her probably the best character in season 4. That she has like this goal in mind, that she is bound to her family. She was raised like with those virtues, but she's able to like turn it off, you know?
Yes.
It's like turn it off when it's necessary to and become this perfect assassin, but she still has like something in mind. She still has like this master plan, this virtues. She's doing it for the greater good, if you will. And I would say Varys and Littlefinger are both like opportunists. They're just like, okay, I just want to have like, yeah. It's interesting when it comes to the motivation of both. They kind of like want to get as high as possible. It's really, where would you rank them? I'd say we can rank them both in the same tier. It's just a question of where.
Well, that's tough again. I mean, we talked about understanding dark reality is a major ranking factor.
When it comes to that, I think they are the best players.
Yes, but also what plays into it is like enjoying life, right? And the masculinity with pleasure. And there, I think they are lacking pretty much because they cannot really enjoy it that much. Even though, of course, sometimes they have their fun.
Yeah,
I guess, sure. But yeah, it's tough. I don't know. I was thinking about A or B, or is that too high?
No, I was actually also thinking about A. It's yeah, like we said last time, it's show is called Game of Thrones, and both of them like played the game, and it's a little bit like a metaphor for life, like with chess. And they kind of like saw life as a chess game, so they actually did something right there. I actually put them in A tier. I wouldn't say they're like Like when it comes to intelligence, nothing beats those two. It's actually for me a decision between A and S, not between A and B, to be honest.
Yeah, I was also thinking about S in the beginning. Or when I said A and B, I was thinking, all right, but who is in S? Except for Oberyn.
Yeah.
I think there must be someone else who is in the S tier.
I'd say it's actually like Littlefinger.
Yeah, I guess Littlefinger might be in there,
yeah. I put Littlefinger in S and I would put Varys in A.
Yes,
because of my personal bias, because I just like this character.
It's fine.
So another character which comes off to me as like an opportunist, like Bronn.
Oh yeah.
If you remember him, it's also like I would say he's definitely a little bit below those two, but he's essentially the same type of character. He doesn't believe in anything. He just like obeys to the highest bidder, or like tries to stay alive as good as possible, if you will. He doesn't really have like you have this teased friendship between him and Jaime, but it kind of gets dropped there, so it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, he is opportunist and also a survivalist, if that's even the word. I don't know. He just knows how to survive and navigate life, but it's not that he will ever achieve true greatness, like something even king level. I know he becomes a lord in the end, I think, because he's given this house or something.
Yeah,
I don't quite remember. But still, he's mostly, in my opinion, just trying to get through there. Yeah. Although he pretty much enjoys it, he's also very, very aloof, you could say. He just, he enjoys his life and how it unfolds, even though he's not like a king or something. Almost laughing at how other people are fighting for this throne all the time. So he's definitely not a bad character, especially also not from a like masculinity standpoint, because he understands what is necessary, what has to be done, and how he gets what he wants to some degree, but obviously he doesn't have the means to get everything he wants.
Yeah, would you say he's a free character to do whatever he wants to do? Because as to me, he always came off as like this type of character who's dependent on someone else. Like I'm the servant of someone else, you know. So like I keep having the feeling that he's not his own boss. You know, if I know what I'm saying.
Yes, isn't this like his whole shtick throughout the whole series? Pretty much, he's always the servant to someone.
Because that would actually make him like A tier, but the more I think about it, it actually makes him like a B tier. I would say it's.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, because there's something that makes him worse than Littlefinger and Varys. Because I have the feeling when it comes to Littlefinger and Varys, they do whatever the fuck they want to do. You know, this is exactly what they want. They sacrifice family and a personal life for just everything. And Bronn is like, well, I'm still like a slave to the queen and all that. So yeah. Trying to survive. He's not really independent, you know.
To the queen, I just saw there also the Shadow Wolves as characters on this list.
It's gonna be pretty interesting there.
Which is interesting, from a character.
Yeah, also like the fucking Night King, man. This is gonna be an interesting one. So I'm gonna put Bronn there and then B list.
Yes.
Now this is gonna be tricky a bit, but when it comes to Tyrion, where do we put him? Where do we put him in a whole list?
Well, I am very biased, so you're gonna stop me there. Because he's definitely one of my absolute favorite characters in the whole show. And not just because of the great trial scene, which was just so fantastic.
I was rewatching it last week because you were mentioning it, so maybe it's time to rewatch it.
I gotta do this as well. I'm just gonna open YouTube. It's such a great scene. Tyrion is also difficult. I mean, in the beginning, I wouldn't rank him too high because, as I said last time, he's too much indulging in pleasure, much like Robert Baratheon in the beginning, because he just he was born a Lannister and a rich house and pretty much almost like a spoiled rich kid, even though he's very intelligent, so he knows how the game works, but in the beginning he's not really doing anything with this sort of gift, if you want to call it. But he has a great transformation throughout the whole show, and in the end he becomes a very great man, actually. And because of what he does, and especially in the end when he has the balls to, I mean, it was in season 8, which we don't like, but this was actually another scene I did like, when after Khaleesi slaughtered this whole city, he pretty much quits his job right after that, in her face pretty much. I like that because this is quite ballsy because she could have just killed him right there. But he truly didn't want to work for such an crazy person. So he definitely discovered his own virtues, what he wants from life, what he wants to achieve, and that he is, after he overcame his own issues where he was constantly drunk and not really doing anything, he was then looking outwards, and this is what I liked about him. He fixed himself, overcame his own issues, and then he was out helping other men and other people pretty much. So I like that. I
think when it comes to practical advice, this is pretty much the absolute go-to tutorial, if you will. You know, it's like look how much they took from him, like pretty much emasculated with being like a literal dwarf and all that, but he absolutely kind of like made up to that with his wit and with his charisma and with his intelligence and all that. Pretty much, it's not really much you can do if you're not an intelligent person. What to say you can do, but I think that's a little bit like if you say that. So, I'm not intelligent, you know. Sometimes it's like a stupid thing to say, because I don't think intelligence alone makes you witty.
Yes.
I think a lot of what Tyrion did there was, okay, I am this character now, so I'm gonna come across better, or just, you know. I think he is like a self-taught. Now, especially being rejected by his father and all that. He's like, okay, I'm gonna have to learn it on my own now. I'm gonna have to survive somehow, you know.
Yes, I was going to say he's. I don't think you need to be very intelligent to be good with people, and he definitely understands people and the dark world again. He has a complete understanding of this, which is again another great ranking factor, right?
Yeah.
And he knows how people operate and how to get from them what you want, or at least give them what they want, so they give you something in return. Usually, this is how he does it. And yeah, he's also from the beginning. He has this issue with his father, right? Who really doesn't like him, and he's constantly on trial, as he says, for being a dwarf. So he does have it pretty harsh, right? And if you compare it to most men these days who complain about mean tweets on Twitter, if you think about it, this guy has some really some shit he has to deal with, and he still becomes the hand of the king for many kings, actually. I think wasn't he like for 2 or 3 kings the hand? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Or the queen. And so he still managed to become great after he overcame his own issues. So as you said, a great tutorial for most men.
Yeah.
Watch at how Tyrion works through his own life and what happens to him and how he deals with all these issues and how he becomes a great man in the end. So this, I think, makes him a great character because he has this, I think, like textbook development most men need these days.
Yes.
That's pretty much what Tyrion does. Overcoming his own issues, his own demons, and then becoming a great man in the end because of it. And this is truly something I really enjoyed about this character.
Yeah, because like I said, I don't want us to be like red smoke, and this channel is like, okay, be intelligent like Tyrion. You know, this is like our piece of advice. But if you think your life is hard, like check this guy out. You know, and then come back to me and tell me about how hard your life is.
Yeah, it's not just like he's on trial for being a dwarf all the time. It's also in his father is not just mean to him. He virtually takes the woman he loves from him, right?
Yes.
He marries him to Sansa, right? In the beginning, which he doesn't really like.
Yes.
And he's constantly getting shit pretty much from his father and everyone around him. But he still proceeds, right? And comes better out in the end. So would you
say he's Tywin level?
No.
Would you say it's Oberyn level?
I am personally, biased as I am, I would put him in S, yes.
I'll put him in S as well. Let's just put him in there. It's hard for me to put him somewhere else. Because it's
hard for me to put anyone at S plus, if I'm being honest.
There's one person I would put in S plus.
Oh really?
It would be Olenna Tyrell.
Oh yeah.
I would put her so much in S plus. Yeah, I gotta say we talked so much about the men in Game of Thrones. It's talk a bit about the women and I would say regardless of the gender, Olenna Tyrell is of course she's like savage, and again I'm a little bit biased because she's like such a good written character, and always it's the same thing as with Tywin. When she's in a scene, she completely owns it. Yeah. That's a little bit like what's the magic behind that? You know, it also has to do a little bit with frame. And
yes, I agree. And I was actually going to say it doesn't really matter what gender she is here. She just knows how to operate a frame. Yeah. And obviously, I would call this a masculine trait, but she's not like very feminine. I wouldn't say that. No, but no. As an older woman, she's sort of becomes the kind of oracle, you know. This is a term I've heard recently. About older women which are powerful. They are usually called the oracle. Mm-hmm. And it makes sense because she knows how to play this game. She knows how to operate with people. Yeah. And she's not very interested in any sort of like pleasures for herself. She just likes to get power and use it. And this is pretty much what Tywin does as well, right? Being another gender doesn't really matter here. She just knows how to play this game, and the exchanges with Tywin are definitely at the same level, which is also why she belongs in the same level. Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
it's like she's like the exact counterpart to Tywin, just like the other gender. You know, she's I would say she's like the perfect. Shay was the name of it. Yeah, Shay was the tall from. And. Yeah, I would say she's like a female patriarch. If there is something like that, I'm not sure if there exists something. If there's a word exists.
That's called a matriarchy. A matriarchy. Yeah.
I would say she is then because, like you said, she's like a little bit behind. Like trying to get power. That's like her main goal. But there's especially power for her own family, for her house, which is Tyrell, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. And I would definitely put her in S plus tier. This is like there's like nothing she does wrong, nothing.
Yes, absolutely. She knows till the very end how to play this game.
Yeah.
And she has people under control, especially also the scene with the sand girls.
Yeah.
Was very great. Yeah, and as you said, wherever she is, she just completely owns that place, and everyone is, very respectful or even, intimidated, afraid. I don't know. And pretty much the same as Tywin. So yeah, she definitely belongs up there.
So what comes to my mind is, of course, is it her daughter or her niece? I don't know. When it comes to Margery Tyrell, I think it's her name. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna point it on the mouse if you don't know.
I
She's
think
also
she's called Marjorie.
yeah. She's also like this. I'll call her like a character a little bit like Littlefinger, a very
Yes.
manipulative type of person a very opportunist and all that. What is like your take on her? She was also like killed in the Vatican thing there. They were this Pope person there.
I would call her the kind of succubus woman type, because she knows how to use her. I mean, she's very beautiful, and I enjoyed watching her, to put it that way.
Yeah.
But yes, she knows how to use that. Being a woman and being a beautiful woman, she knows how to use it, especially controlling weaker men like that other king from King's Landing. I forgot his name later.
Yeah, what was the name of it? I don't know. Like one of those sons from Cersei.
Yes.
I don't remember. It's like such a weak character.
I just know the scene from King's Landing because he kills himself.
Yeah, right after the explosion, he jumps out of the window, right?
So that's King's Landing. Right? I remember that.
Right.
But anyway, she's definitely an opportunist type, because she keeps being thrown into these situations where everything is suddenly different,
right?
Because everything is changing all the time for her. But she just knows how to pretty much still survive or even thrive to some degree in a new situation. But she also definitely knows how to get from people what she wants, and especially in a world like Westeros, and which is mostly ruled by men, she knows how to get from men obviously what she wants by using her body, and she does this quite well actually. So I think she's actually quite a strong character.
Yeah.
But personally, I don't really know what we can take from her as practical advice.
Like I take it that most listeners are like men, you know.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a question, because she's obviously using like her looks. That's a little bit what makes me put Olenna in S+, because she doesn't have that anymore. She actually uses her manipulative tactics, like with words and wit and all that, and she has like this whole master plan. So yeah, when it comes to Marjorie, it's pretty hard for her to rank her, to be honest, because when it comes to practical advice, I would say from a character standpoint, from intelligence wise and stuff, she's on Littlefinger's level there. Pretty sharp mind and all that, you know.
Yes, absolutely. I think she's definitely. Yeah, if we ignore the gender and how she does it for a second, just thinking about how she applies her knowledge and her wisdom pretty much, and what she gets out of life, also understanding reality.
However, I would say that she also doesn't know how to enjoy life, because I always had the feeling that she's like, she has to do it, you know. It's like it's what being expected from her, you know.
Yeah, that's why I would actually put her a tier below that.
Yeah, I would put her in like I said, it's not like official or anything. Nothing here is official, but I put her like in Varys and Jon.
Yes.
It's just like she doesn't really grow at all. So yeah.
Because she, great point you mentioned there. She definitely has the issue that even though she understands how it works and how to use people, she doesn't really enjoy that life. I don't think throughout the whole show she ever was very joyful with her position where she found herself.
So I keep seeing the picture that comes first down there, and we gotta say about Cersei, and I want to rank her. It doesn't matter if she's a woman or a man. It doesn't matter. You know, because when I think of Cersei, there's one word that comes to my mind, and it is I would say she's actually hyper masculine.
Yes.
More than any other male character in the series. Like, like she's the only character actually allows and like organizes rape and torture of another woman. You know, she loses all of her kids, but she doesn't grieve. You know, she sees this as an opportunity to seize power.
She's like the most stoic character in the whole. Almost.
I wouldn't say stoic. She sometimes loses. Actually, the only time she loses is with Tywin. That's funny.
Oh yeah, right.
Tywin is like the only one who owns her.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, she has this incestuous relationship with her brother Jaime, and she despises her younger brother Tyrion as dwarf. And actually, she has this nice arc at the end of season 6. She takes revenge on everyone that stood in her way. She's a character that never hesitates to kill. She's like addicted to power, I would say. Openly favors violence. Ruthless, terrifying killer. Definitely.
Absolutely. She's definitely a terrifying character.
Yeah.
Because she, psychopathic trait, she knows no boundaries. She does whatever is necessary, no matter the cost. She just doesn't care. Or rather, she only cares about family pretty much, and what she wants to achieve. I think actually she is the perfect matriarch, if you want to call it that, because she really only cares about herself and her power and her children, even though she fails at it, like massively. But still, this is the only thing she really cares about. Everything else doesn't bother her in any regard.
There's actually this quote from season 6, episode 10. Got it from the script because I really like this so much. When she's talking to this non-type of character, this Septa Unella character, and Cersei straight up says, "I drink because it feels good. I killed my husband because it felt good. I fuck my brother because it feels good to feel him inside me. I lie about fucking my brother because it feels good to keep our son safe. I killed your High Sparrow and all his little sparrows and all those filthy soldiers because it felt good to watch them burn," and all stuff. It's like this straight up savage, man. But I kind of can't help but like her, you know, for just being herself. This is like not a character who puts on a mask. She does what she wants, but this is such a great piece of dialogue because it just shows what kind of character she is. No rules at all. Straight up psychopathy there.
Absolutely, she's a straight up psychopath, and however, she is, I think, completely ruled by her emotions, which are rooted in what she wants to do. In this case, like, enjoying all these things, as she says, she enjoys all of it, so she does it. No questions asked if it makes sense or not. And this is, I think, not a very good thing you can take practical advice from, gentlemen. Definitely don't act on your emotions all the time just because you feel like doing something. So Cersei is not something to mimic there. But one thing we can take from her, I think, is at least to some degree, being completely unapologetic about what you do and how you do it. Now, again, I talked about concealment a lot. You don't need to openly say anything you do, but she even says it herself. She lies about where her sons are from or who's the father. But generally, completely being unapologetic, pretty much like Oberyn, right? In whatever you do, what you like, how you do it, this is completely up to you, and nobody has anything to say about it. This is truly a trait you can mimic because it's true. Whatever you do is up to you, and nobody has anything to say about that.
Pretty hard for me to rank her because I would say she's like a character like Ramsey Bolton, because I'm thinking about a straight up psychopath, but I'd say she's probably B tier, probably a little bit above him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely above.
Because
she's definitely above.
Yeah, because you said that she's not ruled by her emotions, but I would say she displays more intelligence than Ramsey when it comes to psychopath.
This came off wrong because I said she is ruled by her emotions most of the time. But she also knows how to turn them off at some, let's say, crossroads.
Yeah.
But everything she does is really because she likes it, right? Or enjoys it. and this is not very, very helpful in most cases.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
being a bit more analytical is usually helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think again, I would say there are like always like two polar opposites. Like we have Tywin and we have Olenna, like both mirror each other pretty well. And when it comes to Cersei, the other hypermasculine character is, of course, Daenerys, or Khaleesi, if you will. Again, I would say an example of hypermasculinity. She's like ultra dominant and selfish. She's like zero tolerant, you know.
Yes.
Despite her biological female body, she displays more masculine characteristics than female traits. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she has this issue that she is a bit blinded by what she wants to do. I mean, she's very young in the show, becomes queen at a very young age.
Yeah.
Especially when I think it was in Marine, that slave city,
Mm-hmm.
and every one of her, like Varys, for example, or even Tyrion, I think, told her to not do this and that, and she still does it because she thinks this is the right way.
Yeah.
So she, in my opinion, is a bit. Yeah, it's almost ideological how she operates. She doesn't see reality how it truly is in most cases. She sees it how she wants to see it, but that's not very helpful. And yeah, she is very hypermasculine, so to speak, because she just goes her own way no matter what, even though her closest, the closest people around her telling her differently, she still does it her way. But yeah, I don't know, this is not always good.
Yeah, it's like also interesting how she had this master plan from the beginning, kind of. You know, in the first season, she actively uses her sexuality and all that as a risk to getting raped in order to rise up, you know.
Yes.
And that's a little bit the question of. That's a little bit the question of practical advice. Of course, if I say this now, people are gonna laugh. Say, oh, what kind of practical advice is that? Like getting raped myself for a while. But yeah, what I mean is, would you say it's okay to a certain degree to humiliate yourself to rise later? And where would you like draw the line? Because she's like, obviously, okay, I'm gonna do anything. There's like nothing in this world I'm not gonna do to become queen. I let myself get raped and all that. Would you say that's practical advice or not? Because I genuinely don't know.
I wouldn't say that this is very useful for men, in my opinion, because of one thing: the past will always hunt you to some degree. And if you become king or whatever you want to become, whatever you did in the past, unless you are very good at concealing it, it will at some point probably surface. And a king who has humiliated himself that much to get this position, which is really what she did, I don't think is very well respected. Now, in her case, this was obviously different because nobody really know about her and what she did, because the whole Drogo clan pretty much died, right?
Yeah.
I think. Don't quite remember it. But so nobody really know what she did. So this kind of worked in that regard. But yeah, I don't think this is really useful.
I also would like actually see her as an intelligent character, like in opposite to like Margery or Cersei and of course Olenna. She's pretty, I'll say this is driven by her emotions, but there's not really much intelligence to her. And not a good character at all, I would say. And
absolutely not. And I think she definitely, she again, pretty much like Joffrey, had too much power for her, for the way she was grown, and especially for, how much quote unquote she matured, because I don't think she did mature very much.
Yeah.
Even if we ignore the later, infamous season 8. I still think she made a huge of childish mistakes throughout the whole series, and I think she didn't mature a lot. So I just don't see anything we can really take from her, in my opinion.
Is she D tier or F tier? What would you say? It's either one of those two, because there's not really much to take from there.
Personally, I would actually put her in F.
Me too. It's I'm probably biased because of season 8 and how they
Maybe, yeah.
ironically raped her character development. But yeah,
That was very ironic.
so,
Yeah, but
yeah.
that's just. I'm trying to think of a scene where she actually.
Where you can say that's practical advice or something, But
Yeah.
it's just like, okay,
Or
I
even
did it in
just
that moment
some-
because
some-
yeah.
Even just some sort of mature way of acting in this regard. But there's nothing. She always acted mostly from her emotions and her ideology or her beliefs, without even thinking about what could happen. I don't even think at some point she ever did that.
Pretty weak character.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put an F. It's I just can't think of anything else.
Yeah.
We're running out of characters we can talk about. Actually, there's one or two characters we can still talk about. Of course, there's the character of Arya. We teased you earlier about her. So,
Yes.
what's like your personal take on her? Again, ignoring this catastrophe of season 8. I would just say up until there. Maybe even season 7, where she's like the one who kills Littlefinger. What's like your whole take on her character?
Well, she has also a very huge and great character development throughout the whole show. Like, she changes a lot, right? And I actually truly enjoyed the scene when she kills Walter Frey.
Oh yeah,
by giving him the cake.
Yeah,
that was truly great. Yeah, but for her, she was in the beginning. She wasn't ever this like kind of stupid little girl. She always was a bit tough, even as a little girl. And even her father, Ned Stark, I think said this once. I don't quite remember it, but she did well from the beginning. Yeah, but I don't know if you can take anything from her there. What do you think? She's one of your favorites. So
yeah. It's I mentioned it before. Is this? There's this breaking point for her character when she's like in Clegane's arms, and he's like, "Don't look at it," while Ned Stark is beheaded. And I think I think that's the moment where it clicked for her, and she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna." There's just one problem. I think. We talk a lot about like pleasure in life and all that. And I think her whole motivation is built around revenge.
Yes, right.
Because that's what didn't make sense. Like, make her kill the Night King. Like, why? But anyways, her whole motivation was based around revenge, and there was not much more to it. She became a very bland character, which in the meantime was pretty nice because she had this. I like that on this list. She's next to Clegane, actually, if you see it, and they have this great dynamic in, I think again in season 3 or 4, where they have like I have this soft spot for like father-daughter relationships in movies or in TV series, and they have this great chemistry where I think it's this character of the Hound who kind of shows her how the world truly works. It's like, you see where your father messed up. You wanna end up like him.
Yes.
And Arya kind of like grows. That's what I really like. She starts to understand reality and starts to adapt, quite literally, by becoming an assassin. And I don't know, like, of course, there's like not practical advice. Don't go to an island and become an assassin. What is that? But she adapts in some way.
Yeah, adaptability is a great and important trait for any man, and these days not as much as it was back then, I guess. But still, times are changing pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
And you need to adapt to new situations. That's just what a man needs to do. And she's very good at this. Because, I think when Ned Stark was beheaded, you are right, she just realized that this world is different than she was imagining it. And especially what she learned from him wasn't that helpful in the end.
Yeah.
So she definitely realizes that there is a dark world happening. But I truly, as well, also enjoyed the father-daughter relationship between the two.
Yeah.
That was great.
they had like this great banter from time to time where they're like making fun of each other in such a nice, mature way. So the question is a little bit, because I was asking this about Jon Snow and about Robb Stark, and she's after all Ned Stark's child. So is she a better Ned Stark or worse, or is she on the same level? Because I would say she's above him. She kind of outgrew him, you know. She kind of made better what... you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sorry.
Here's
the thing. I think she is better than Ned Stark because she understands it, like the real world better. But what puts her a little bit back again is that she's really only driven by negative emotions, being revenge. And as you said, this is really the only driving force for her, and she doesn't have any pleasure in life because she really only cares about killing the people that did bad to her family. And while obviously you understand this, it's not really a very joyful life. So this is where I think she falls a little bit back again.
So would you say she's like on Ned Stark's level or even below him?
I would think she's on his level.
I would say the same, yeah. I'd say like from all the children Ned Stark had, I think Arya and Jon did the best.
Yes.
Because when I think of the others, they're kind of like kind of messed up there.
Absolutely.
So yeah. Actually, do you see anyone you want to cover down there? I still think about the Night King. How do we rank the Night King?
The Night King is difficult.
He's toxic masculinity, man. I swear.
Absolutely toxic.
Oh yeah.
Although he's very determined.
Yeah.
You could say that.
Yeah, but what's more toxic than walking around and like raising dead people, raising people from the dead? You know, it's pretty toxic trait there. We talked about
One thing which is I think very easy to say. One character is Khal Drogo, right? I keep seeing him.
Yeah, and is he even a character?
Yes, that's
like, does he even have dialogue or anything?
Yeah, he doesn't have much dialogue, but I think people liked him a lot. And personally, I didn't like him that much. I mean, it was quite fun to see him ripping someone's throat out, and I just like the actor, pretty cool guy. But from a character standpoint, obviously we didn't get to see much of him because he died pretty soon, and he's very bland if you think. About it.
Yeah.
He's like the warrior type, but he's not the warrior monk type, you know. And I always like this because, as Socrates also once said, that, not quoting here, but that you don't just need to be a warrior, you also need to be a scholar, right? And he's really just the stupid warrior, pretty much. And this gets him his rank with the, I forgot how the tribe is called. Whatever.
Yeah, it was Dothraki, or I believe.
Yeah, Dothraki, right. Yeah, that makes him king, but his blind, stupid fighting ideas of constantly fighting, never thinking about it, also gets him killed in the end. So yeah, he's kind of a bland character. Yeah. But I just keep seeing his picture down there.
Yeah, I mean, come on, for his body, he gets to be in Robb Stark's tier. Let's put him in D.
Oh yeah, right.
And because when it comes to like stupid guys with a good body or like extremely masculine types, I would put Tormund there as well. He's actually the same character. I would put him there in the D tier as well. He's like the exact same type. Like he's like comedy relief a little bit, and does some stupid jokes, but he has no. They're both like those equivalents of like people who go into like the gym, and like just focused on their body and like nothing else, you know.
Yes.
I won't say like they're extremely good at surviving and all that, but what they ultimately lack is intelligence, of course. I don't know if it's something you can blame them for, but but it's
also, it's not just really. I keep thinking that intelligence obviously is helpful in many things, but especially in a world like this and Game of Thrones, which is completely focused around the people and manipulating them. Intelligence is helpful, but not necessarily needed. You just need to understand how people work, and this really just needs you to learn that. Yeah. But for example, Khal Drogo never cared about people; he just kills them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that wasn't very helpful for him.
Not really practical advice we can give out there.
No, not really.
I keep looking at those characters there. There's like the only two characters I might be still interested in would be the Hound. That's Sandor Clegane, I think is his name, his real name,
Yes.
and Sir Jorah.
I was going to say that.
It's like isn't it like this kind of simp character there, isn't it?
It's, Lord Friendzone, right?
It's like so tragic because he was really interesting up until a certain point. It's really hard for me to like rank him somewhere because, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean he can serve as a negative example to other men, right?
Right.
Because while he knows how to fight and he has some virtues, but he's like simping hard for Daenerys, right? Like real hard.
Yeah.
And this is just a prime example of a man throwing everything away just to get in or with a woman, whatever you want to call it there. And this is the negative example. Many men need to realize that if you give up everything just for one woman, then you will lose everything.
Yeah.
Because I actually like this because she virtually throws him out. Pretty much like it happens with most guys which are in the friend zone and trying their best, quote unquote, by simping so hard to get with that woman. They will just be left to die at some point. This is the brutal nature of the dark feminine, if you want to call it that.
Right.
But this is just how reality and how women operate. If you are in the friend zone, which is 100% always your own fault. Don't get me wrong here. If anyone is in the friend zone, that is your fault. And if that's the case and you keep simping hard, then you will be left to die. That's just how it operates. So this character arc for him actually liked as a negative example in the real world, because it just showed you that if you are that kind of guy who keeps chasing that one woman, you will lose everything.
Yeah, obviously. Check not I'd say you could. I wouldn't even say you could call him someone with like good virtues or anything. You know, it's just like he just wants to have this girl safe, and it's like, what kind of what kind of goal is that?
Yeah, I think he doesn't even like, for example, Varys. In the end, if we believe that, he thinks that Daenerys will be a good queen. If we actually believe season 8 there, so he has a reason. It's not just that he runs after Daenerys because she's hot or something. He thinks she will be a good queen, but here, Mr. Lord Friendzone, he really just thinks she's good, good girl, hot chick. I don't know what he's thinking, but he's definitely not thinking in terms of the people there. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's definitely an F.
Yeah. There's like there's no question about that. I was just waiting for confirmation there.
Yeah, absolutely Ed Sheeran level.
So the last character I really want to talk about, because this is like I said, I really enjoyed the dynamic between Arya and him. It's of course the Hound character.
Yes.
And it's a really interesting one because you have this character who like basically bumbles around for a number of seasons without any clear direction until he like figures out, okay, my only goal is revenge. Is there much we can take from him? Because I gotta say again, I'm biased because I really liked his character. He has like good banter and like he's this like saying his joke. If he would be like king, it would be called cunts landing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
pretty much fit to his character. I'm really biased because I like him subjectively, but is there much to take away?
This is also very funny. I liked him as well. Truly great character. Although he's sometimes just very negative, but he's making jokes in that regard. It's very weird. I remember this one scene where he is carrying the chest with that zombie in it, and that one soldier asks him what's in that chest, and his only response is "fuck off."
Yeah,
and you know, this is actually quite a negative person, right? But it's so funny to actually see that.
Yeah, would you say he's bitter?
I don't know. He seems a bit like, but I don't even, especially with his whole story. What happened, right? So you could say he's a bitter man, but it also doesn't seem like that throughout the show, pretty much, because he always cracking jokes, you know.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, what we can take from him, I think, is actually the father figure. Even though he isn't Arya's father, he still tries to teach her something, you know. And I think this is also great. He's some kind of mentor,
Yes.
to
Yeah.
some degree. And I think this is something you can take from it if you have knowledge because you've been through shit or you know things. This is, for example, what I do, right? I coach and mentor people, which are not my children, obviously, but I enjoy doing it because I have learned things, and that means I can give this knowledge and this information to others, and I like that because then they hopefully don't make the same mistakes. And his mentorship is really just teaching her the dark realities of life, which her father didn't do, Ned Stark in this case.
I was just about to say that, yeah, because I wouldn't consider you the hound, you know, but you also teach those men stuff which probably their own father didn't taught them.
Yeah, I guess.
For some reason, I don't know, maybe they, because when I was like watching this series and this back and forth between Sandor and Arya, I was also like, this must hurt her, the way he tells her how life truly works, you know. But it's the necessary stuff you gotta tell kids these age, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know very well from many men have reported the same to me, that seeing reality through my books or my coaching, whatever it was, how it truly is, it was hurtful and it was painful, and they at first didn't like it, almost even denied it. But then once they accepted it and realized that it's true, suddenly their life was much better.
Yeah.
And I think for Arya it's similar. She realizes how it truly works, and then she becomes an assassin. And even though she is negative in the regard that she's only driven by revenge, I think being the assassin, and especially the scene with Walter Frey, she did enjoy that. I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely. So last question, we're going to rank the Hound.
Yes, the Hound, that's difficult.
Difficult one, right? That's, for some reason I would put him where Bronn is. I don't know why, because it's very similar characters.
Yes, he is, absolutely. I mean, he's not really like powerful as the guys above him, but he definitely understands reality. He is enjoying himself, at least to some degree. And yeah, again, we can take something from him, which is the mentorship and the father figure, even for other people which are not your children. So yeah, I would say B. He's definitely at that level.
Oh, let's do it. All right. Okay.
Awesome.
Let's say that's it. That's the characters ranked properly in Red Smoke style. Check this out. Everybody on Spotify. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. Well.
Yes, I don't know. I was thinking about like nice words to say in the end. I was like, okay, guys, like, okay, look at this. Like, try to be someone like from S+ and S level. I would even say, don't be like Tywin. Be like Olenna, because you know why? Because I have the feeling that Olenna kind of even enjoys life a little bit more than Tywin.
Yes, we actually didn't talk about this.
I don't know why. You know, I was trying to bring that up real quick.
Yes. Because I had thoughts about this. Last time I said that Tywin probably never enjoys himself, pretty much. And I guess in most cases he doesn't. Even though we see him very rarely smiling. Very rarely.
Yes. And when he does, it's very intimidating, I guess.
Yes. It's this weird evil grin, right? Sort of.
Yeah.
But still, I actually think he really does enjoy power. So I guess being in his position, it's not like he's bitter or mad. That's definitely not him. He enjoys being in his position. So, but definitely Olenna enjoys herself much more. That's very noticeable.
It's always this like I believe sometimes people get like this hate, like maybe on social media or whatever, when people say, "Wait, why don't you enjoy life more?" You know, and I would be like, well, maybe I enjoy hard work. You know. Maybe I enjoy power. That's a bit like masculinity with pleasure doesn't automatically mean okay. I gotta like booze and have parties every weekend. You know, if that's not what makes that's what gives you pleasure, then what's the point in it? You know. So
yeah, this is I guess also why many people might be confused why Tywin is actually our definition of a very masculine with pleasure guy,
Yeah.
or even like an hyper masculine guy,
Mm-hmm.
because he always, not only is he supposedly the bad guy in the series, but he's also almost evil to some degree. And as I mentioned before, he does this for a reason, because he's the patriarch, right? And he has to do things others don't want to do. But I also think that having this purpose and working towards it and getting this power from it, he's definitely someone who enjoys power. That makes it very joyful for him. And I think that most men would, especially these days, would enjoy their life much more when they had more power. And this really just means they are respected, for example, by their own wife, which is severely lacking these days, weirdly enough, but it's what it is. And they get the admiration and respect from the people around them. And however, as you said, for this, you need to work. You need to work for that. You're not given the crown just like that. You need to deserve it and work for it and fight for it, right? And once you learn that this is something that gives you joy in the end, then you will realize why just being boozed up every weekend and eating shitty food is not the joy you're seeking, but having a purpose and being a patriarch is something that will most men, I guess, fulfill much more than anything you can buy.
All right, guys. So don't be like Ed Sheeran. Be like Tywin, guys. Be like Tywin. Yeah, it's not like it could be like this character. We said this in the beginning, but it's more try to steal as much as you can, as much as it makes sense. There's definitely some practical advice, some banter, some quotes you can definitely
I'm looking at the top 5 here, S plus and the S tier, being Tywin, Olenna, Oberyn, Littlefinger, and Tyrion. I mean, these are truly great characters.
Absolutely,
there's a lot you can learn from them, gentlemen. So definitely helpful.
Yeah. Definitely worth it. Give the whole thing a second look if you have the time. It's like give Game of Thrones another chance. I would love to dive in again after like seeing it like 3 or 4 years ago, since the last time I saw the earlier seasons. If I had the time, I would really love to like watch it with like fresh eyes, if you know what I'm saying. It's would be really interesting.
Maybe I'll watch it again, but I don't know.
I really wish really wish I had the time, but
I'm definitely gonna watch the trial with Tyrion again.
I think that's there's always time for that. Yeah, and if you have time, like watch Olenna Tyrell's best roasting moments. I think there are many compilations about that one as well. Okay, I think that's it for today. We ranked the characters. We did our duty, and I hope you guys can take anything from that. I hope you had fun to watch us rank those magnificent characters. Some of them. All right, Alex, any last words?
No, I just wanted. I'm just gonna add one thing.
Sure.
Not really add, as I said before. The nature of any man, I think, is to be admired by other people. This is what we like, but not just randomly for what we did, right? Because you need to build your confidence on something you achieved,
right? And
then get admiration for it. This is pretty much what the king does, what the patriarch does. So, gentlemen, if you want to feel whole and if you want to enjoy your life and enjoy this feeling, then build something that is worth of admiration from your family or anyone else. And then I think your life will be much better. Yeah, that's my last words here.
I think I'm not going to say anything else because I'm going to ruin your perfect catharsis of this episode. All right, goodbye, everybody. See you next week. Toppy's going to announce soon on Twitter. All right, bye-bye. See you next